Okay, I want to turn over to Janet Coates, who's going to walk us through the revenue panel.
All right. Don said the magic word, we pay. Everybody perked up. I can think about ethics and write about ethics. I'm not gonna do a whole lot of introduction. You guys know these folks and know about them. But I did want to kind of set a little bit of a frame. One of the things that hit me from being here last year and listening to the conversation yesterday is that last year there was kind of this implicit why question in everything we were talking about. You know, why this approach to revenue, why that approach to revenue, why be for-profit, why be nonprofit. And it seemed to me yesterday that we have moved into how questions. So the philosophical debate seems to be over, and we recognize that we need business models, whether for-profit or nonprofit, you still need a business model, and that now the question is more about how. How do I do this? Give me some advice, give me some hard information. So I think that's a good place to be, and I think that'll lead to some good conversations today. I want to kick it off with Howard here, and one of the things when we talk about revenue, we tend to come at it from a point of view of scarcity. There's not enough of it, I don't know how to get it, how do I get enough advertisers? And Howard approaches it from abundance, I think. And he's talked about the success of his business model and how he could, how he sees opportunity to push that even farther. So I'd like for you to talk a little bit about that viewpoint, about looking at it as opportunity as opposed to scarcity and fear about that.
Thanks, Janet. You must have been reading my mind because that's exactly what I was thinking about, what kind of intro I want to offer. That was kind of how I was approaching it. So a little bit of background that kind of, this informs my own thinking combined with, it was really a part of the plan to launch the Batavian in the first place. So I started working for the Ventura County Star in 1999, worked for a guy named Steve Dana, who also, like me, had come out of a newsroom, but here he was running a business. And everything we ever talked about pretty much was revenue. He wasn't interested in doing cool stuff. It was, what can we do new to make more money? And then when I took over as director, I largely reported to a guy named Bob Benz with Scripps, and every conversation with him was always about money. Now this guy's a former copy editor who's now, at that time, was in charge of like all the Scripps interactive stuff. So kind of at a young age as an executive, so to speak, it was just really pounded into my head to look at all the different ways you could make money and to be constantly focused on making money. And that was just hugely influential on me. And both, then when I became VP of the Bakersfield Californian, a lot of people talk about how cool, all the cool stuff Bakersfield did. A lot of that was really done before I got there. Kind of the current design, site design is my thing, and there's some other stuff that I initiated on the cool content side, but I was brought in to make money. And at least I thought I was. So in looking back at those two experiences, I could see all these different revenue streams that we had in Ventura and Bakersfield. It wasn't just display advertising. In fact, that was, ironically, our weakest area. A lot of stuff was around classifieds. We looked at, and we were always looking for other revenue streams. And how could we leverage what we were already doing to make more money? So fast forward to now I'm at Gatehouse Media, and the CEO wants to do an R&D project of online-only publishing. My great insight, it seemed like a great insight at the time, was if we could do all the things that we were doing in Ventura and Bakersfield to make money, but without all the expense that goes with running a print newspaper, we could support a newsroom. If we could get the same level of revenue that we were achieving in Ventura especially, I could have a newsroom that would cover a community the size of Ventura pretty well. So if I can scale that down to a smaller community, but at the same ratio, I can cover that community. I don't need as big a newsroom as I have in print, and I don't need all that other expense. I can fund this. So that was basically my pitch to get the Batavian started. If we can become the dominant media in a place like Batavia, New York, then we can make good money. So that's still kind of my vision. Where, and just to like quickly hit on, so we're doing really well with retail display advertising. As of this morning, we have 109 advertisers under contract. Revenue is somewhere in the neighborhood of $9,000 a month, which some other publishers here will talk about how much more money they're making. I know some other publishers do have monthly revenue much higher, but we're in Batavia, New York, okay? So and now we're expanding in some areas. We're doing stuff around social media, marketing and consulting. We're working with a company called Second Street Media, only vendor I do business with as the Batavian, to do various kinds of contests, particularly Facebook-like contests, which so far is looking really promising. I see opportunities around additional kind of deal programs. I still believe that if I can ever build the platform to do it, there's money to be made off of classifieds. I believe that there's things we can do around a business directory to make money. And it comes back to something that Steve Outing talked about back in 96, 97, 98, somewhere in there, about multiple streams of revenue. And that's still the model that I believe in. The big challenge for us is not that can we make that money. I'm confident that we can. My bandwidth is used up. Without more resources, I can't go any further. We're just kind of stuck. Trying to incrementally move along. I got a great part-timer working for me now who's kind of, my all-in-all assistant on the revenue side, does a lot of great stuff for me, but until we grow revenue more, I can't give her more hours. I can't give her more, it's very hard to grow revenue without giving her more hours. So that's kind of where we're at. But again, just to emphasize, I think there's a lot of ways to make money online. We haven't even begun to tap, none of us have, into all the potential that's there.
I want to make sure that we come back to the bandwidth question, because I think that's something a lot of people in this room are grappling with, is how do I can see it, I can see where I want to get to, and I'm trying to figure out how to build a bridge from where I am now to where I want to be. So let's make sure we get back to that. Ben, I want to talk on the theme of abundance. You guys have tried several different things. I mean, you've never kind of put your eggs in one basket, and building off what Howard said about multiple revenue streams. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that, talk about advertising too, but talk a little bit about some of the things that are maybe not that kind of advertising model that you guys have used at Sacramento Press?
Sure. So I'm Ben Ilfeld from the Sacramento Press, and if there's any takeaway, I would say everybody here should be experimenting and trying different things from each other and different things every month, honestly. We've tried lots of things that have failed, which means that we have to keep trying. We've tried a few things that work, and so we keep doing those things and we commit resources to them. Something that we're particularly good at and that makes up about 1/3 of our revenue is, we call it Agency M now, but it started as social media work that our in-house Sacramento Press social media intern started doing for us. Basically, it was an intern, and we found that she was better at posting to Facebook than she was writing stories on our site. And so we said, why don't you just do that as your job, and then you can work on Twitter for us and some other things. And when she did such a great job for us, we thought this might be something a few of our advertising clients, partners of ours in the business community, could really use. So we just said, look, do you want a part-time job? We'll give you a part-time job, and we're going to go find 6 people who are willing to pay $500 a month for this service, and we'll just see if it works. And it's worked so well that that business, that slice of our business, has actually grown to become essentially an independent part of what we do. So now it's called Agency M, and we do all sorts of digital media work for local small businesses at affordable rates. So the question then is, what are you all going to do that's different and unique and plays to your strengths? This was something that we found was a strength of ours, and we gave it a shot, and it absolutely could have failed. On the other hand, we worked with a daily deal site or a white label provider, and we put a lot of resources into it, and it didn't work as a daily deal. It just didn't for us. It doesn't mean it won't work for somebody else. We decided to give it a shot on a different platform as a weekly deal, and we found that changing platforms and changing format worked better for our advertisers and our partners, and it worked better for our bottom line. So you experiment and you change things. The key thing in this room is we have so many different people who have so many different strengths that it would be a real waste of the talent and the energy that everybody has for anybody to take a cookie cutter approach to try to monetize their sites. You know, I don't really have a ton of advice about how you should go out and sell ads or how to close or things like that. That's really not my job. And I think for many owners here, it's not your job either. You have to keep an open mind though, and try different revenue tactics and try different opportunities. And you as an owner or an operator have to be unafraid to fail and cut that off at the knees when it doesn't seem to be working so you can move on to the next great opportunity.
Thanks, Ben. Ben talked about partnering, and that word came up more than I think any other word yesterday in the opening session, was the idea of partnering and cooperation and working, leveraging the entire ecosystem in your community. Mike, you want to talk some about what you guys are doing in Chicago that you just launched this week, so it's hot off the internet
right.
press with the Chicago Ad Network.